By bringing spirituality and ecology together, we are bridging the gap between the outer and the inner. Spirituality is concerned with the inner, and the ecology is concerned with the outer. And when you put those two together, you see interrelatedness of inner and outer. Schumacher College provides an opportunity where you can also bring your own duality into unity, because lots of people are busy in their daily lives, working with the families, with their other activities and responsibilities. They do not have time to stop and think what is the direction that they should be following in their lives. So by coming to Schumacher College, you are giving yourself time and opportunity when you can stop and think, re-evaluate your values, and see where you are going, whether whatever you are doing is right for you and giving you satisfaction and giving you the understanding of meaning of life. That is one inner and spiritual work. The outside, the ecological work is that we are responsible for everything around us. How the society is working, how the state of the planet is, and what is the direction of the world. And therefore here, by being with the kindred spirit people around you, and with the scholars in residence who are dedicated, committed, ecologically and spiritually people, by having dialogue with them, it may give you some kind of clarity to go out in the world and do something which will not only help you but also help others. So that way, Schumacher College is a time to prepare. Quite often, people who are engaged in the world of action, like Friends of the Earth, Greenpeace, WWF, many other conservation-oriented, ecology-oriented, green organizations, they have good ideas and they are engaged in action, but sometimes they lack moment for reflection. So my vision for Schumacher College is to provide a center, an international center, where people who are engaged in action can come for a moment of reflection. So action and reflection can come together. I would like to see this as an international center, because our crisis, the ecological crisis, the environmental crisis, the spiritual crisis, is a global crisis. If there is a pollution in England, it affects Germany in acid rain. If there is a rainforest destroyed in Brazil, it affects Europe and Africa and Asia. If rivers are polluted somewhere else, they affect somewhere else. This interconnectedness of our world crisis is very important. Therefore, when you have people in Schumacher College who come from the United States and Europe on the one hand, and Africa, India, Eastern Europe on the other, then you can share the common concern about the world and also develop common ideas and a common ground where you can act together, rather than see this is in the interest of the Western industrialized society, so we'll do this, but you don't know what will be in the interest of third world countries. Also philosophically, sometimes we are a bit narrow-minded if we just sit together with our own people of the West. We need to hear the wisdom and the tradition and the culture and the aspirations of people from the non-industrialized countries. So my vision for Schumacher College is to create that confluence, that meeting place of people from all cultures and all backgrounds, and that is happening already. I am glad to say that in the last 2 years at Schumacher College, we had people from nearly 40 countries, and that cultural meeting point gives me a tremendous hope for the future. Nearly 65 years ago, Dartington Hall Trust was established to bring life to rural areas. At that time, people were leaving countryside to go and live in the city. The Industrial Revolution was at its height, and the urbanization was also at its height. Living in the rural areas was not considered very interesting, or in practical terms, there were no jobs in the rural areas. So Leonard and Dorothy Elmhurst were inspired by an Indian teacher, poet, writer, and a sage, Rabindranath Tagore. So when they came here, they thought that on the lines of the work done at Shanti Niketan by Rabindranath Tagore in India, they should start something here. So they started Dartington Hall Trust with nearly 1,000 acres of land, with woodlands, Dart River going through the estate. So this is a very beautiful place, and Elmhurst started this with this vision that education, culture, arts, industry, all that kind of activities should bring new life to rural areas, to the countryside. And he succeeded in achieving that. Now, 65 years later, the world is facing a crisis. We are at a turning point. And this turning point could be as important as there was a turning point when human society turned from a nomadic culture to more pastoral, agricultural culture. Then there was another turning point when society turned from agricultural revolution to industrial revolution. Now we are realizing that the kind of industrial revolution we have created and the industrial system we have built is not sustainable, because it takes too many natural resources. It's like monster consuming. So Dartington Hall Trust is concerned with ecological, environmental and spiritual issues. So they are, the trustees of the trust are trying to turn the whole of Dartington estate and the trust to spearhead that new kind of thinking which takes us into a new revolution, an environmental revolution or an ecological revolution or a spiritual revolution, where life is not so fragmented, where people can live in harmony with nature rather than against nature, where people can live with nature as if nature is our friend, rather than we have to conquer nature, we have to dominate nature, we have to just see nature as a sort of utilitarian object for our benefit. So that kind of thinking is very strong among the trustees of Dartington, and that is why they have put all their effort and imagination to create Schumacher College. Study is important because people come here to inquire and question with an open mind. But it is no good that we sit together and discuss about important ideas when somebody else is cooking for us, cleaning our toilets, making our beds, and doing all the so-called manual work, and sometimes people consider it dirty work. So Schumacher College has no paid staff to do that kind of manual task. All participants participate in cooking, in cleaning, in all the other maintenance work, garden work, practical work. So the intellectual activity is complemented and balanced by physical activity. So that is very, very important. We also find that while people are doing something with their bodies, they are relaxing much more, and they are at ease with themselves. Physically, they are expressive. Then their study is much more fruitful. They can go deeper into the questions because their mind is rested. So work is very important, particularly all the staff and the helpers who are living as residents, as members of the resident community. They also give their time in cooking, cleaning, and running the place. The inspiration for this kind of setup came to me by experiencing and seeing the workings of Gandhian ashrams in India. These ashrams, these Gandhian communities have a basic rule that everyone should engage in bread labor or manual labor, because distinction between intellectuals just doing the study and scholarly work and non-intellectuals doing the practical work was not considered right by Mahatma Gandhi. So that example was very inspiring to me, and therefore when we were starting Schumacher College, we talked about it and we decided that everybody who is at Schumacher College should participate in intellectual activity as well as manual activity. At the moment, we have a wonderful setup here where people of any age and all age can come. People of all nationalities and cultural backgrounds can come. But sometimes we also get demand, so to speak, from younger people who are going to universities, and they are saying to me and they are writing to me that, look, we don't want to go to those universities, but in order to get the degree, we have to go. If there was an opportunity where they could combine their study, a degree course, together with this kind of lifestyle, this kind of philosophy, this kind of vision, where they could study the holistic philosophy, holistic science, that would be wonderful. So what I have been thinking, this is only a dream, and I'm sharing the dream with you. It is not yet a practical plan or proposal, but my dream is that here we should offer a degree course to such students who want to live this kind of lifestyle, where they do manual work, where they do meditation, where they live like a community experience, and at the same time they can pursue their research for PhD or doctorate or master's degree or something of that kind, and they can live here rather than 5 weeks or 10 weeks for 2 years or 3 years. And if they are doing a degree course, they will be able to obtain government grant. So that way they will be able to afford to stay here. And I would like to offer degree courses in subjects like deep ecology or Gaia or ecological economics, ecological environmental architecture. So in that situation, we will have to have at least 5 to 10 students doing either master's degree or PhD research. And also in that situation, we will have to have some professors of deep ecology, or professor of Gaia, professor of ecological economics. So the world out there, the world of universities and academia, can recognize this place as a valid place where students are doing serious research, but with a difference. Because the universities like Oxford or Cambridge or Bristol or Sherborne or Harvard or all these universities are not really universities. They are diversities. They fragment knowledge. They chop everything into little subject areas and compartments. Here we can set an example of true university where all knowledge come together in an interrelated way. So that is my vision, to create a university, and whole of Dartington can embrace that, because there is 800,000 acres of land here, so people can work on the land, live in a community, and at the same time pursue their formal study in areas where other universities don't offer degree courses. When we are looking for teachers, we are looking for people who have a wholesome way of living and a holistic way of thinking. People who have dedicated their lives for 10, 20, 30 years in pursuit of that unified vision of life. So people like James Lovelock, who has worked all his life to develop this theory that the whole earth is one living organism. Now this, to me, coming from a scientist, is quite a revolutionary thinking. The mystics and the traditional philosophers have always seen the earth as one system, but the science has seen it as a dead matter, and sort of in a mechanistic and reductionist way they have looked at the earth. Here it is, a scientist with a very clear scientific background is coming up with this kind of theory. So we had Lovelock as our first scholar in residence. Similarly, people like Fritjof Capra, who combined Chinese thinking, Indian thinking, and European science with new physics, Tao of physics. That is something I value very much. So we have Fritjof Capra here, with Hazel Henderson and Manfred Maxneef, who are economists, the ecological and sustainable frame of mind. We study the ideas of permaculture. We study the ideas of ecological design with Victor Papanek. So people who have authority, people who have insights, people who are combining intuition with intellect, those are the people who come to teach here. No one has monopoly on wisdom or knowledge. It has to be explored together. For me, a learner, like a student or a pupil, is not an empty bucket. And teacher is not there to pour information and knowledge in this empty bucket. The knowledge and wisdom is inherently present in all of us. Through dialogue and through this mutual discussion, we can explore and uncover what is hidden within us. So that is truly educare, bringing out, leading out what is inside us, is the understanding and the basic philosophy of education, basic theory of education, which we pursue at Schumacher College. People who are our scholars in residence have tremendous experience in teaching, so they can help to bring that wisdom and insight and intuition and knowledge out from within. The other thing I feel important is living word is essential in understanding. When you are reading a book, it is good. But if you discuss that point which you have read in the book, that point comes alive. So living word is an important and essential complement to the written word. The spoken word, the oral tradition, is almost a forgotten tradition. People think that they can go to library and read all the books and get all the information without any need for a teacher or a dialogue or a group discussion. At Schumacher College, I personally give great importance to this living word and dialogue and group discussion. That is the method of teaching. We are not here at the moment giving degrees, or we are not giving them any certificates. What we are saying is that here is an opportunity. Come and explore. Find out what you want to know. And then put this, practice this into your life. So there is no parcel of knowledge packed or packaged that we want to give to people. We want people to explore and find their own ideas and knowledge and take it with them, the insights, the intuition which they have developed here, and practice in life. Whatever they are doing, At Schumacher College, we are not trying to develop any dogmatic party line message. We are not saying that all the answers are already here with us. We know what is the solution and we just preach it. That is not right. That is not the approach that I want to see at Schumacher College. It is a place for open inquiry. It is a place for exploration. Even though we have certain inclination that perhaps a holistic way of looking at things is more appropriate in understanding, but we have not closed doors. We want to have open dialogue and open inquiry. I feel that in many universities that openness is lacking. The process of dialogue is a transforming process, because when you are engaged in dialogue, you are free from your ego. You are free from the idea that you possess knowledge or you possess information. You are putting your ideas and your experiences and your thoughts on the table, and you are asking other people to put it on the table. And together you make the complete picture. Because when you look at something from your point of view, you see one aspect. When somebody looks at the same thing from other point of view, they see some other aspects. In the same way, fourth, fifth, and third person see it from different aspects. If you can put all those aspects together, you are making a more complete picture. You are trying to see the whole truth. And that true understanding can only come when you are working with a spirit of dialogue. When you have a smaller setting, the human relationship can be nurtured and nourished much more properly. And you don't have to have a big bureaucracy where things work in an impersonal way. So at Schumacher College, we have put a maximum limit on the number of participants who can stay here at any one time in any one particular course. And that maximum number is 30. Because up to 30, you can still see each other, meet each other, know each other by personal and first name. So that kind of human relationship is very, very important in a learning atmosphere. And if it is a learning community, you cannot make a huge, hundreds of people not knowing each other. They are in an institution rather than a learning community. So I would like to say to the vice chancellors and the chancellors and the professors of the university in the world that if you want to turn your universities and colleges into learning communities, make them small. And at Schumacher College, we have began with that idea of a human environment, a more personal and intimate environment, so that you don't feel alienated.